Hello everyone. So welcome to today's video. My name is Lucas and today I was going through this website called linear.app. A very sleek design, and there's a bunch of things here that can be built in Framer, like for example this really nice clean hero section with this nice UI underneath in this kind of skew position. We also have this very nice navbar that whenever you hover over certain elements, there's this image change that turns from saturation, from desaturated to saturated, right? We have that as well. And as you scroll down, there's other nice interactive sections like this or like this, but there's one in particular that I really liked, and it was this one, right? So we have project updates, communicate progress and project health with built-in project updates. So this particular one I really liked because as you hover over each kind of card, it goes, it bounces up, and it has this really nice blur background effect to each card. And the colors also change from this top text and from this icon. And this involves a few components and nested components. And so I wanted to actually take my time today and build this for you guys. The remix link is also in the description below, so in case you want to just grab that and kind of analyze to see how it's built in the back end, you can do so as well. But if you're interested in learning how to build this, please stick around and let's get started. So the first thing I'm looking to do here is just build out this layout. So we have a kind of title text here on the left and right, and a description text underneath each title, and we have this line that's in between both of them. And then we have this image here with a nice gradient background. I'm gonna just create like a placeholder with no text or anything, just like a rectangle with a nice gradient. And then at the end, what we're gonna do is this part, like I said, we're gonna start by building the component for this particular one, creating the different variants of this component, and then creating the master component, which would be the animation of these three hover effects, right? So yeah, let's get started first with the layout. So what I want to do first is change the fill here to this dark fill that the linear site has. So now we have it like this. And what I want to do, well, first let me just add the different breakpoints just to see how it's looking in the responsive mode, so tablet and phone. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click on the T and write manage projects end to end, and we're going to make this white, and I believe it's this SF Pro display. Let me just double check by going back to Chrome, right clicking on inspect, and then what we do is we just make sure that we select this 21 pixels SF Pro display, and then this is 17 pixels SF Pro display, but it has a specific color, which I'm gonna copy if I find it somewhere. It's this one. Perfect. So let me just copy that. Now we're going to go back to Framer. I'm going to paste this downwards. I'm going to get this and copy the text color. And we're going to make this 21 pixels. And I believe it is medium. Looks like it at least. And then we're going to make this 17 pixels. And we're just going to copy paste this text. So let's just close this inspect tool and copy this, go back to Framer, paste this. Then, as you can see, it's there, but it doesn't really have a good format. The desktop also has to be height set to fit content, and this is I'm just building in responsiveness in mind. So what we want to do now is we want to combine these two into its own stack. Stack is going to be left aligned, and now we want to duplicate this because we want this other text, and we want this to be in its own stack, and it's going to be called the features section. And this feature section is going to be aligned horizontally, and there will also be, I would say, a max width for this, about 1200 pixels. And I will show you why in a second. We want there to be some type of padding here on the left and right, so let's do that. So let's get back to Framer and go to our features section and add some padding. Let's add some padding everywhere, about 60. It probably is more, but we're just gonna leave it at that. Go back to Framer, let's make this text, these two texts, well, let's start with this one, let's make it fill. This one also should be fill and not fit. Fill, so all of these different texts have to be set to fill. And we want these two texts to have a max width of around 500 pixels, I would say. No, less. 400 pixels. Perfect. So on the phone, it's eventually going to go down vertically. It won't be horizontal like this, but we'll fix that when that comes. So now it's looking good. Just gotta update the text here. So project updates, and then let's get this text from here, go back here and paste it. And we can already see that we can even add less of a max width, something like 300 pixels. Good. All right, and now we want to add the space for the graphic here, right? So both of them are going to have graphics. This one is going to be obviously an interactive one, and this one is going to be a static one. I'm wondering if I can copy this image. No, doesn't matter. We'll just use a placeholder, a rectangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to add a space underneath. And let me just rename this to left and this one to right, I would say. Or we can call this manage. No, actually left and right is easier to understand, I would say. Maybe we gotta adjust this a bit. So they're both. Maybe you have to make this text go underneath. Okay. So they're both two lines, right? And there's gonna be this one, so left and right, and we want, so we see this line in the middle, right? We want there to be a line. We can do that by going like this. We can do that by giving the stack a right alignment, 1 pixel maybe, and then the top of this one, and then the bottom. So I'm going to show you right now what I mean, but you can do something like that. Let's go back. Well, we can do that at the end, actually. Let's do that at the end. We're going to have to involve some padding. So let me get a frame and draw that here underneath. And let's make this width set like this. And then in the padding, let's just put these two together. And this is going to be called the text stack. The text stack is going to be left aligned. And then we're going to want this to be duplicated and brought to this stack over here. There we go. And now we have both of them, right? But these are going to be empty. And what we want is we want to add these images inside. So for this one, I'm just going to pretend that this has a, we have like some type of computer image. I'm going to set this fill to nothing. And I'm going to actually give it a layout. And I'm going to bring this in here, and I'm going to make this absolute. And when I make it absolute, I'm just gonna make sure that it's set to 0 and 0 here. And then we can give the radius of the top left corner something like this. And give it a little bit of a border on the left and right, or top and left, let's say. So top one, bottom, let's go like this, and maybe 10%. And let's remove this very bright light. Let's make it something like 5%. And boom, we have our computer screen. We have our little screen that we generated, right? We can even adjust the size to be a little bit more. Can even add it all the way to the edge somehow. Something like this. We can edit it as however you want. And now what we want to do is we want to add another frame that has some type of gradient effect. So it has like a nice type of oval gradient. Is it called oval gradient or circular gradient? Whatever. Has a drumroll radial gradient. Okay, radial gradient. Let's make it black here, black here. Actually, not black. What's this color? It is this one. So let's create a style. Let's call it black. And let's make sure that this is this black, this is this black. And let's make sure to grab this and give it a nice 0. And move this somehow like this. And kind of adjust that like that. And maybe now we can put it on top of this layout or inside of it, I would say, absolute, and adjust the z-index to be over this bottom one. So this would be the screen UI placeholder, and this would be the gradient. And this would be called graphic. So for the gradient, we can make sure that it's 100% relative. Relative also here, 100%. And it's starting to look nice. So we got to make sure that it's smack in the middle, and boom, we're starting to get this nice looking gradient. Maybe we got to adjust the size a bit so that it's something like this maybe. Something like this looks cool. We can leave it at that. That's looking good. Okay. Now let's go to the place where we want to really work with, right? Let's remove this fill and add a layout. And this is going to be called graphic as well. But here we're going to add different cards. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to create a component of this specific card. So not of the whole thing first, we have to just create a component of this specific card first. So let's do that. So, and the way to do that is, let me go back to Chrome and see if I can inspect this. If I can kind of see what type of font they use. So, okay, SF Pro display, what we're already using with 15 pixels. And we're gonna need this green color, which is this one. So let's just add that to our styles by going to Framer, and let's go to Fill, and let's click on New Style, and let's call this green, and create. Let's just go back to black. But now we have this green color. Perfect. And let's do that for the other ones as well, because I know that, okay, we got the red, which is one of them. So red, let me go back to my assets, color, new color, style, red, create. Then let's do the same thing for that yellow, I believe it was, orange. So orange, orange, boom, create. All right, perfect. So we have these different colors. That was quick. We know that it's SF Pro. We know that this is 15 pixels, this is 15 pixels, this is 15 pixels, so they're all 15. This one is going to be that gray color that we used before. Actually, it's a different one. So let's just make sure that we got that. Let's click on this and color text this one. Go back to Framer, add color, new style, gray, create. Okay. And now let me take a screenshot of this. 15 pixels, we know that each one is 15 pixels. So let me just make sure that it's kind of like this. And boom, screenshot, Framer, paste. This is why I skip Figma, for example. Like if you're building a landing page, you can already like build straight in Framer. You don't even need Figma for the design and all of that. So just a heads up for all of you using Figma still when you are building sites in Framer. I would totally recommend you just build your site, design your site in Framer. So I'm going to copy this text. I'm going to make it fit the content at first. It's going to eventually be fill. And we're going to put label. We're going to make this 15 pixels, right? And we're going to put this is the content area. And then we're going to put the date. Let's just put Jan 14th. Today's January 14th. So let's go like that. And then we need obviously this little icon thing. I was looking at different icon libraries the other day, so I'm gonna use Iconify, and I'm just gonna use some different symbols that we have. T design, I don't know, I'm gonna use something that looks pretty cool. Do they have something versal? No, or no, not versal, linear. Okay, let's just use material. And let's use this one, and this one, and this one. Okay. So I'm gonna use this one as a placeholder, and we're gonna make it white. So this one is always going to be gray, by the way. And this one, this color is going to change. Let's just put these together in a stack. Make sure that this is set to fill. And this is set to fill. Actually, no. This would be set to fit content. Or no, it wouldn't be set to fit content. We'd have to adjust that later. Okay, and then we can just put these together into one add stack. Make sure that this is left aligned. Now we can basically fix these things. Set to fill. And we can give this like a nice size like this. We can give this a nice padding of about 20. Top and bottom too. Why isn't it working? Oh, fit content. And then we increase the gap to around 15. And let's reduce the gap here to like 6. Okay, and then we want to add the effects here. So this is going to be like a white, but it's going to be like 5%, I would say, or maybe less, maybe 2%. We're going to make the radius 10, and we're going to give a border white, but 10 pixels, I think. Was it that one like this? Let me see. Screen UI fill border solid 10 pixels. Okay, so we're going to keep it similar to this one. Now what I want to see is the following. I want to duplicate this, and I want to give this a filter background blur and give this like a 20. And I just want to like see, okay, this looks good. Okay, so we're going to keep it 20. This is going to be called the card. So let's rename this to card. Card, this is going to be label. And let's just put like, we are ready to launch next Thursday, period. And make sure that this width is set to fit content. Guess we have to give it a specific size, which is no problem. Okay, so now that we have this like as a stack, right? We have to create a component out of it because we're gonna have a version that is gonna be lit up, and we're gonna have a version that is not gonna be lit up. So this is the lit up version, this is not the lit up version. This is the lit up version, this is not the lit up version. And we're gonna have different types of variables. So we're gonna have the label variable, we're gonna have the text variable, the date variable, and the color variable. So those are gonna be like the 4 or 5 different variables that we're gonna need for each component. So it's gonna be variance primary, variant hover, and then the different variables for each variant. It sounds a little bit confusing, but once we start building, you'll kind of understand. Okay, so now I'm gonna head back to Framer, and I'm going to create a component out of this. So I'm going to put create, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make everything here into a color, like I think it's around 10 or maybe 20%, 20% or 25. Let's just put 25% opacity, because we're going to start off with variant 1 being low opacity, and so just so that we understand, and then this is going to be like, for example, maybe 50%, and then we have hover version, which is going to be high opacity, so 100. Let's put 100. 100 and 100. And so if I were to press play, we have already this nice hover effect happening. And we can adjust this, we can reduce this bounce, and we can adjust the time to be a little bit slower. Maybe that's even nicer. So it looks even better, right? Now, what we can do now is we can set the different variables. So we can set the different variables to be, how can we do this? We can set a variable for the icon. So actually, now that I see this, I can't really change the icon. We have to use one of these icon plugins, or not plugin, these icons from Framer, right? So let's just use this material one as we were using before, and let's make this not filled but outlined, and let's make it into a download. So it's quite similar. Let's decrease the size, and let's add it here. Remove this. Let's make this guy white. Let's see what, okay, outlined. We make him white, we make him smaller. And we're gonna make this one 25%, and this one is gonna be 100%. So, 100% here. So now, like I said, let's add the different variables. So for example, for this, we can add a create variable for the icon name, or icon. Let's just put icon, right? We don't need to complicate things. So this is going to be the label title. This is going to be the description. This is going to be the date. So create variable, plain text, date. Boom. And then we have the same here for this one. So this is going to be called, can we rename this? Let me see if we can rename this. If we can't, then let's just do something. We'll have to create a variant that is called high opacity, because as you can see, this first one doesn't have this hover, right? So we want to just keep it with the colors. So what we can do is we can just go back to Framer and make sure that these have variables, but they're called high opacity, and they start off with 100%, not 25%, so that it's, how can I call it? It doesn't have that hover effect that the other one has. So we go like this, make sure that everything's 100%, boom, I think we're ready. Now what we can do is we need 2 of these low opacity ones, and we need 1 of the high opacity. And now what we got to do is, oh, and by the way, let's add another thing. This is the color. We have to add a icon color one, and label color. So label color, boom. And now that we have that, let's see if this would work. I'm just curious to see if this even works. I know that it's going to be somehow, okay, yeah. Now I know what to do. So we want this to have a color, and we want this to have another color. Create variable label color on hover. And this would be, or not label color, icon color on hover, and create variable label color on hover. Boom. Now we got that going, very easy to do. So we got that red. We want to maybe put it 25%, or actually we don't need the red, we need it white. So we can actually delete this icon color because we don't need an icon color here. It's going to stay white. We need a color here. So let's just do that. So this one is going to be the red one. So icon color is going to be red. We also need the label color. I don't know why it didn't. So create variable label color on hover. And let's remove these guys because we don't need them. So as you can see, we're learning by doing here. So icon color red, label color is going to be red. I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to play, and we get this nice animation. So we can do the same here. This icon color will be orange. Label color will be orange. And for this one, the icon color will be green, and the label color will be green. Well, this is going to be for the high opacity. We need this to actually change here. So create variable color, icon color, and here would be label color. Create variable label color. Go back home. And yeah, we gotta make sure that these don't really matter. But yeah, let's just do them anyways. And so that if we go like this, we hover, nothing happens, right? That's exactly what we want. So now what we gotta do is really cool. We gotta basically put these together, and we gotta put these together and make them go into a stack, right? So let's just put them here, here, here. Let's put it right here, and then this one would go also here, but on the right. All right, and then these three would be set to absolute. And now what I want to do is I want to put them like this. I want to stack them in a way that they're on top of each other. Boom. Now they're on top of each other. Okay, so that's the first step. We got them on top of each other, and you can see that the hover is kind of working, but we need to add this cool 3D effect. So basically that it's kind of skewed and rotated in a way, right? So let's do that. And we also have to add this jump effect. So that's going to be another challenge. So the way I'm going to do that is by creating a frame. And I'm going to add one as an example. And let's make this frame have a layout. And let's hug the content here. And that's basically what we're going to do is we're going to basically remove the fill. So it looks kind of that we're doing this card, but it's actually this frame that we're going to create a component out of. And this is going to be like the card jump, let's call, right? The card jump create. And this is one way of doing it. If we, well, actually, I don't think this is a good way. How can we do this? We can create these three different stacks, right? We create stack 1, stack 2, stack 3. And we basically replace this with this one. So this would be filled. We remove this and we replace it here. This would also be filled. And let's make sure that this is also filled. And now what we want to do is we want to put these together. And we got to put this into its own other little stack. So like this. And the stack is going to be quite large, I would say. Something like this. And we want these to be absolute. Let's give the stack a little bit of a fill so we know kind of where everything is. So, and then we got this one. We got this stack. Well, I'm thinking, do we really need a stack above these cards? And I don't really think so. I'm just kind of brainstorming here, guys. So let me just remove these stacks from here. And I think we can do it already with these normal cards that we built. So I'm just going to do it like that. This one is the orange one, so we need this one to go first. Then we need this one, and then we need this one. And then these all need to be absolute. And then let's just put these over each other. And let's make sure that it's kind of in the middle. And now this would be considered the component. But before we do that, let's just make sure to add some skew. So we can put transform, we can put skew, and we can do something like this, and then rotate maybe. Oh, This can be also a cool one, like one like this, but we want to make it like this. So let's just continue. It's gonna be kind of like this. This is basically the way. Want to maybe add more space. Go like this. Perfect. And now let's create a component out of this. This will be the card jump. Let's make sure that the other one is deleted. Perfect. So we're going to have different things. So variant 1, variant 2, variant 3. So this is going to be neutral. Let's call this one neutral. Neutral. Let's call this 1. Let's call this one 2. Let's call this one 3 to make our lives easier. So for 1, obviously we know we're going to make the 1 jump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Why not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe 6 would be good instead of 7. Okay, so whenever mouse enters each one of these, it goes to these different variants. So new transition, mouse, how would we do it? Not click, new. So we do have to go back a little bit and add a frame to one of these, to each of these, because the frame basically allows us to add this interaction. So, and then this mouse enter interaction, that's what I mean. So now what we can do is we can, for the 3 of these, just again create the transform, and we want that skew transform, and we want that rotate. So rotate, what was it again? It was like skew -10, yeah, there we go, and rotate. Something like that is good. And now what we can do is create a component out of this. So again, card jump. Sorry guys, let's just do this correctly. Let's make sure that each one has a little bit more space. Perfect. Let's call this one neutral and set the different variants. This one is going to be called 1, 2, 3, and now it's just as simple as, you know, like we were doing before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then, for example, this one would be, or again, touch the frame, not the card, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So whenever someone mouse enters this frame, so interaction, new transition, mouse enter, transition set to variant 1, do the same here, interactions, new transitions, set to variant 2, interactions, new transition, set to variant 3. And now what we want to do is, for each of these, we're going to do a mouse leave and set to variant neutral. Again, with the second one, mouse leave, set to variant neutral. And for this last one, same thing, mouse leave, set to variant neutral. And I'm just going to make sure that everything is correct. I don't want it to be on click, I want it to be mouse enter. So everything should be mouse enter and not click, mouse enter, mouse enter. So I accidentally put click. All right. So as you can see, it's starting to work, which is good. We have to do this as well here. This one doesn't seem to work. It's the click, mouse enter. All right. And we can even adjust kind of the transition. Somewhere. And it even preserves that hover effect from the other one, right? Okay, so now we got that. We can bring in this mouse jump, make it fill the width, and oops, it is currently acting strange. So let's just make sure that this is set to this, and let's make the height fit the content. And we can do the same here. We can adjust this to be larger. So this can be set to be larger. How many? This is 514. We can also do this something like 514. And then we can just make sure that this is also a little bit, you know, matches the whole thing. We can make this background get removed, and we can add some of this nice gradient that this one has. Put it over here. If I may. Perfect. Absolute. And we can adjust the gradient to be a certain way, like this. We can also make it smaller and make it thinner, so it can be something like this. This is actually really nice. All right, so again, it would also be nice to decrease this size a bit. See how large is this? 460. Let's make this as well 460. Fill. $460. $100. And boom, we're getting there. This is basically it. Let's make sure that this is centered. Nice. And now if we were to press play, oh, let's lock this gradient, I would say. No. How could we do this? So at the end, you can, instead of using this full gradient, you can make little gradients like this on the sides to add some kind of blur effect or gradient effect in the corners. You can also adjust the size of this primary component so that it can be a little bit closer to the text and not so wide, so more like it is here. And then if you press play, it looks like this. It's a really nice looking interaction. Again, it's down in the description below if you want to remix it. For the mobile view, all you have to do is just go like this and make sure that it's not, it's not horizontally aligned but vertically aligned. And then let's just make sure that the fill here, it's not fill. I mean, we have to kind of adjust this a little bit, make sure that this is set to fill. And we would have to kind of maybe even add another variant for this phone one. So that would be another way of doing it. Because if you were to scroll down like this, the sizes of this would preserve. So another option would be just to leave it like this, or align it better, or make a phone version of it. But for the desktop version, it works just fine, right? So hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a quick little tutorial of a section that I really like in the linear.app website. Very nice, nicely designed. So yeah, if you guys like this video, please click the like button. It really helps me a lot. And hope to see you guys soon. Please join me in my Discord if you want to build websites with me live. I do this almost every day at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, thank you guys and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.